Welcome back to the program. It's great to have your company on this Monday morning. Well, when we look back at how Australia dealt with the coronavirus crisis, there may be many positives, but one area, an unmitigated disaster, the border security at our ports. After the chaos surrounding the Ruby Princess, one law enforcement officer told today's Australian, quote, "Ports are treated differently to airports. There are no biosecurity checks, no records checks. The public would be shocked by the failings and how so much trust is placed in cruise ships." To discuss, I'm joined by One Nation leader, Senator Pauline Hanson, and senior writer at the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, Jessica Irvine. Ladies, good morning to you.
Good morning.
OK,
Good
Pauline,
morning.
to you first of all. Our ports, they're like sponges, they're porous, and it's taken a tragedy for us to realise it, right?
Well, I'm surprised by this. I thought that they were as stringent on the ports as what they are at airports. But if this is being picked up, it's a good thing. OK,
what would you like to see happen then?
Well, tougher restrictions on the ports and to investigate everything that comes in. I have been talking about they don't check the containers that come into Australia. And years ago when I spoke about it, 1 in 100 was actually checked, between 1 and 3. I think it's even less than that now. So they do need to step up the border security at the ports. So I hope this is a big lesson to it.
Big wake-up call, Jess. We're pretty tight on boats coming here illegally, aren't we? But what about cruise ships?
Yeah, look, we're a nation obsessed with stopping the boats, and some of the boats we stop, some of them we let them dock in our biggest cities and have everybody roaming free. It does seem that there is a gap here in responsibilities between the state and the federal governments, with ports overseen by Department of Agriculture federally and, you know, Department of Health locally at the state level. And we've had such big discrepancies in Victoria. They'll board the cruise ships to check people here in New South Wales, where I am, and we just let them get off. And it seems like definitely, now that we are aware of what a huge threat this is to us globally, we're going to have to get some sort of the feds and the states talking together, because it's been just ridiculous. I mean,
the part of the attraction of the cruise ship obviously is coming in and docking at the International Passenger Terminal in Sydney, but you're straight in, you're straight out, straight into hotels, straight into the big population bases.
Yeah, and when the authorities are aware that we have a developing pandemic, you'd think that there could have been some more stringent controls. Although the New South Wales Police are also looking at whether the cruise ships themselves were actually disclosing properly, you know, the information about the state of the health of their passengers.
How would you sum up the New South Wales experience, Pauline?
Sorry, Carl, I didn't hear that.
How would you sum up the New South Wales experience?
I think absolutely hopeless, and I don't think that Hazard should be in his job. And I'd look at the health department themselves. And what I've heard is the health department, the administrators, the bureaucrats in the health department override the health minister all the time, and it has happened for a long time. I think it needs a complete overhaul, and the health minister should actually take control of it. If he says he didn't know anything about it, and that's what I've heard on the grapevine, well then, you know, that's his fault. He hasn't done his job properly, and it should be, you know, to do a criminal investigation. Don't think it's the way to go with it. I think the whole health department, the bureaucrats, the minister, even Gladys Berejiklian, how she's handled this, should be fully investigated. OK, I
think it's going to be investigated to a degree, isn't it? So we'll see what happens. Queensland Police, meantime, have dished out $800,000 in fines. There are outdoor parties, beach picnics, and even one man caught driving from Cairns to Port Douglas on a Tinder date. Pauline, it's a bad time to be single.
And it's over the top. How ridiculous. You know, people were going to have a picnic. You can't even sit on the grass. You can't sit on a park bench. OK, if you're going to spread germs and that type of thing, but you can't sit on the grass and have a picnic with your kids. You can't go to the beach. You can't go for a walk. I think it's completely over the top.
Oh, come on,
it's ridiculous.
Paul, we can't have people going out.
You can't go fishing.
We can't have people going out willy-nilly having picnics and everything, spraying their germs everywhere. You Queenslanders. Oh.
I'm all for it.
OK. Jess, for you?
I think you should.
I think you're definitely not allowed to get on your private jet or your private helicopter and land on a lovely beach island twice in a row and be apprehended by police, which is what happened to one of the Queenslanders up there. You know, it's hard. It is hard for us single people we've been trapped in lockdown, and it's going to force some difficult conversations. Apparently in New South Wales it's legal if you are actually in a partnership and it is a visit for caring purposes. You can visit with a significant other. So it just brings on that conversation a bit quicker. You've got to say, are you my significant other, and are you in need of some caring?
And just for the Women's Day purposes, that was not her asking me, obviously. Hey, we're quite rightly focused now on containing the virus and avoiding economic meltdown. At some point, though, as a nation, we're going to have to pay all of this back, right? We've spoken about this for the last couple of weeks. We're borrowing an awful lot against the future. One idea being discussed before all this happened was raising the GST from 10 to 15%. Now, Pauline, will people be prepared to pay more when we are back? Do you think GST is a good idea?
No, I don't. Totally oppose it. And I tell you what, it comes to me with the vote, they won't be getting my support. The GST goes completely to the states. The federal does not get any part of the GST. A lot of this cost is the federal government's cost. Now, there's many other things they can actually do with the GST, and as I've said for years and years and years, the multinationals, they only pay about 1% of the tax in this country. The multinationals, through transfer pricing, they don't pay the taxes here through the 1953 double taxation agreement. I had an agreement with the government, but it fell over because I wouldn't support the corporate tax cuts, was through the Northwest Shelf, the gas there, they could actually reduce the PRRT. It would bring in $6 billion over 10 years. Get rid of this foreign aid to countries, stop paying the World Health Organization, the UN, and stop, start up industries and manufacturing, put tariffs back on so that we charge those countries sending their goods out here from countries like China and the others only pay a few dollars a day, destroying our own industries here. We can tackle this many other ways. The average Australian cannot afford any more increased taxes. So those people out there, you go and get your car done, you go to the accountant, you go to the lawyer, you'll be paying half that amount again in GST. They can't afford it, Carl. There is the GST is recovered by businesses and big business. They get their GST back. It's the ordinary small person out there, ordinary Australian, they can't afford it anymore. And I'd like to see a turnover tax on big companies.
Okay,
they should start paying their tax.
It looks like it's going to have to be a mining-led recovery here in any event. Taxing the mines, I mean, Twiggy wouldn't be very happy with us discussing it, but would that work, Jess?
Yeah, look, we have to hope that there's something that emerges out of the ashes of this and hauls us back into having some growth. That's what's going to generate the tax revenue that we'll need, and we really can't really be looking at increasing taxes until we start to get that recovery. I'm not against the GST being increased. We need to have taxes that people can't avoid. If you tax companies and if you tax individuals' labour, they work less and they raise fewer profits, or they go and do it offshore. So if we're looking at the appropriate tax mix for when we're on the other side of this, I mean, this is very early days, then the GST is something that should be in the mix. I mean, just to the point of having tariffs that Pauline raises, that would only increase the prices that consumers here pay as well. So that's asking people to pay. Okay, ladies, thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Enjoy your Easter Monday. Thank you. You too. Well, just ahead after